Hey everybody, welcome to the Sales Pipeline Automation Overview and Setup tutorial. I guess you could say that's just a very simple one with some bifurcates logic in the tail end. Now, what does this automation workflow do? Um, what it basically does is it essentially takes any notification or any inbound lead, it gives it a score according to any of the information that's provided, adds that with the score to your CRM of choice. If it's a prioritized lead, it'll schedule a follow-up so then you can really make sure that you get it done, that it's a prioritized, and it sends an email with a prioritized copy. Then if it isn't a priority lead, then no reminder, just goes to an email. So how do we set this up? First things first, you might have never seen a webhook trigger before, or this is something that basically automatically sets up an endpoint trigger for you to use. You essentially take this endpoint, this URL, and let's say an instantly, or in some other platform, there's a webhook feature, a webhook integration feature. It'll ask you to paste this URL into a field there, and then it'll search you, try to authenticate and test that endpoint. So make sure that you are receiving any sort of data. So let's say you have instantly tested out, make sure that it works, and so on and so forth. Now then, the AI step, this is one that really does need to be updated because you need to add your credentials. So to add credentials, if you've never set up an OpenAI API key before or credentials, then it's really simple. You just go online, you search OpenAI API, you'll get brought to a screen like this. This is your landing page. You go to the top right settings, you go to the left, API keys. You go back to the top right, create a new secret key, you name it the same name as a workflow, and then you copy paste the secret key to that bad boy, and you plop it over here, and then you save it. And once it saves, you can then start to use it across the entire workspace. So one more importantly is the prompt. This is basically a very simple prompt giving it the exact type of data that's going to have assigned, or let's say know that this is the data to review, and then ask for a JSON object with the score and reasoning. Very simple, very straightforward. So what it does then, and we go over to the CRM stuff. Now here we have Pipedrive as an example. You don't have to use Pipedrive. You can use Clothes, you can use Salesforce, HubSpot, Zoho, whatever you want. Ultimately, each one is going to require a credential, and one way or another that you're going to have to go ahead and create that credential inside of those platforms. Now, what could that look like? If we were to use the OpenAI API key as an example, you have to basically go there to the platform, almost always. They're in the settings, and almost always it says integration or API keys, and then you go ahead and you start looking for the API key to integrate out. It's basically as simple as that for almost any platform. Now, that said, once you have that CRM integrated, the only thing you need to really do is make sure that you have a person ID, some sort of save name, ID value, whatever it might be, to properly map whatever you're getting the AI in the previous step to generate, to add to the CRM. Okay? Just quick note, this is from like experience. Make sure that it isn't just creating a deal that's creating all the data. They can possibly assign it, and it isn't overriding existing data unless you really need to make sure you're updating. So look to create, and then if not, and if it already exists, then not uptake. Just a word of wisdom there. So if that said, we have an if case. So you can assign a lead value here. So if the value is 70 or higher, C minus, I don't know about C minus, but you know, the world of business might as well be good enough. Schedule or reminder here. And that reminder essentially is through Google Calendar. You can set this up with whatever other calendar software you might use to manage your time. Now for Google Calendar in particular, you're going to have to set up the credentials. I don't want to click into this because it will show you some sensitive information that I would rather not show. That said, it is one of the more complicated things to set up Google credentials in general. You'll have to use something called the Google Cloud Console, potentially. If not, that they might just let you get away with OAuth 2 that said if you have to use Google Console, they have plenty of docs. Plenty of docs. If you click here, they'll have a very specific dog just to set up Google credentials. So then has that covered? There are plenty of YouTube videos out there as well. I can't really cover that in the span of this video. So that said, just notice what's being selected down here. Make sure that you select the right calendar to create this into. Right here is the logic of when this thing is going to be scheduled for. This is 24 hours from now, right? You can make that sooner, later, whatever you'd like, and then it ends. Reminder, you can make it a 1-minute reminder, whatever it might be, and then what do you put into the description here? Is putting the score and then essentially assigns, I think, the name to, yeah, this is the score. And then over here is the name with the last name to look up with. If I were you, I'd add maybe a bit more information here and here to make sure that I couldn't correctly identify and move fast. So that's that next step that can cover both of these is an email setup. So you'll have to add credentials. If you want to add credentials, you can essentially go through either Gmail or you can use the more manual as MTP process here. I would advise you, if you're already setting up Google Calendar and Google Credentials, to just continue using Gmail. Just make sure that you have everything properly filled out. So what's in the body of these things? Very simple. Just hi the person's name. This is going to just communicate that, this is actually use an email to the prospect. It's letting them know that you're going to reach out to them within 24 hours, and it gets the process going. If they aren't prioritized, then the copy is just a bit different. We will get around to them within about 24 hours, but it isn't something that to really prioritize, so it can slip through the cracks. This is the overall process. What else can you do in these cases? I think it's a good foundation to start automating different sequences, flows, subsequences inside of CRMs. Like Close has workflows that are triggered based off of different parameters or properties on a lead or whatever it might be, or a company. You can start to play around with that as well to kind of create like a cascade of automations, but you don't need to really overcomplicate it. You can also start to enrich a lot of data here. So if you see that it is a prioritized lead, well, maybe you want to see a bit more data collect, maybe the call recording for that. This is where you can potentially also add that into the CRM. Now that is the workflow. Hope you guys enjoy it and reach out if you have any questions.